Okay, Sian Grigg, congratulations on your Oscar nomination for The Revenant. How did it feel when you heard the news you'd been nominated?
I couldn't really believe it, to be honest. It was really exciting and a bit terrifying at the same time.
uh, well, let's talk about what you did on the movie. You were one of the makeup artists. You were the personal makeup artist for Mr. DiCaprio. So talk about what duties that entails for you.
Well, I do all of his makeup, so I design his whole look, and I brought on a friend of mine, Duncan Jarman, to help me with the prosthetics, and he organised all that side of the workshop. Getting bits made and hiring the staff there. And then the pair of us applied all the prosthetics when there were prosthetics days. And when there weren't prosthetics, it was just me.
Mhm. So what was the big challenge that faced you with The Revenant?
Well, the whole film was a huge challenge, to be fair. I mean, I read the script and I thought, I don't think I've ever read a script with as much makeup in for the whole film, let alone just one character. It was just a massive, epic amount of makeup, really. So I read it and I just thought, oh my gosh, this is going to take a long time. So we started in April 2014. We were one of the first people on board, and then we didn't wrap until August 2015. So we were on it with breaks for the over a year.
Hmm. So let's talk a bit about it. You have to turn Leonardo DiCaprio into this real life guy, Hugh Glass, who was a frontiersman. Um, where did you start? What kind of research did you do?
Well, Alejandro he really wanted them to look like they'd been out for a long time on this trapping expedition. So they'd been out for over a year already. So, obviously they didn't shower, they didn't wash, they didn't change their clothes. You wore the same clothes every day, and you might have a wash in a stream, but that's about it. So the dirt was really important, that it looked really grounded and really real. And also, Alejandro wanted him to look older, and look different. And Leo had this thing that he wanted an underbite, and he thought he would do the whole film with an underbite. But I said that I thought that would be so uncomfortable, and I said, and so I got some teeth made for him that I thought would achieve that. So I built up his bottom teeth higher than they are, and then built them outwards and put padding underneath to change the shape of his jaw. He also had a nose augmenter in to change the shape of his face a little bit. And then I had to do lots of breaking down and aging and weathering on him, and some scars and nicks on his hands and things like that, just to make him look believable as somebody who'd spent a lot of time outdoors and had quite a hard life. And then from there, we get to the bear attack. And from the bear attack, all the makeup is story driven, basically. I mean, the makeup is very integral to the plot, and it was really important that it all looked totally natural and totally believable, because the way the film is so submersive. You sort of feel like you're in the film almost. And the last thing I wanted was for any of the makeup to take you out of the film. So it was very important for everyone, and especially Alejandro and Chivo, that the makeup looked totally real and totally believable, which is a great challenge, and just the sort of makeup I really love to do. So and then there were so many stages, and they were also gradual, because we had to basically, he gets the bear attack, and then you have to see that he starts to recover enough that he can crawl out of the grave, but that he's later on, his wounds, the bigger ones, become infected, and the Indian sees them, and you have to be able to sort of see the progression of his deterioration. And then he's put in the sweat lodge, and all of a sudden the healing properties that are put on him help him recover, and he's able to make it back to the fort, albeit on his last legs. And when we all he, as the winter progresses, Alejandro wanted him to be more weathered, and that was my favorite makeup, really, was to make him look the frost snip and the ice in the beard, and I looked at loads of reference on that, on how to achieve a realistic look for that weathering.
So, as we all know, movies aren't filmed in continuity, and you have to chart this progression. So, can you talk about sort of the day-to-day difficulties of keeping up with, okay, where are we right now in this progression?
Well, we were quite lucky that we did shoot a lot of it in continuity.
Okay.
We did jump back and forth sometimes, obviously, and that was tricky. And I had more pictures than I think I've ever taken on any film. We used to take continuity pictures daily because the makeup changes were so subtle. I don't even know how many makeup changes we had on Leo, probably over 50. And like just for the neck appliance alone, we had 7 different stages of prosthetics. So, you know, it was a big job, and we did the jumping back and forth wasn't such an issue. It was more that we would have big gaps when the weather wasn't correct. And for example, we wrapped in March and we didn't come back to it until June, when the snow was in the southern hemisphere and we could fly to Ushuaia to finish the film. And that's a big gap, and it's quite a fiddly makeup, but I knew we were coming back to it, so I just wrote a really detailed cheat sheet, because I knew I'd forget what colours I'd used, you know, because you know, you do other work in between and it's hard to remember what you've done exactly.
I'm curious, you know, of course you have to do all these tests before you start filming. So, you know, when you were designing these wounds and stuff, I mean, were you like, was there ever a, you know, this is too much or this isn't enough? How long did it take you to come up with what it was going to look like?
Well, Duncan and I did several tests in the UK, full tests on a double, trying to get, because the way Alejandro shoots as well, it's all in a continuous shot. So technically, it was very difficult to get the appliances to bleed, bubble air out of the neck, be stitchable, have an ankle that's you can relocate, all in the same shot. That's a big, I mean, it's a big ask as a makeup when you're doing close-ups and cutaways, but when you're doing it all in one shot, it's massive. So before we even were prepared to show it to Alejandro, we had to test it extensively ourselves, and then eventually we thought, all right, this is getting here now, we'll show Alejandro. And we videoed it and took a load of photos, and he was delighted, but he said, I want it even more. And we were like, really? Because we thought we might have gone a bit far, you know. But you know, I didn't know Alejandro at that point. I didn't know if he liked makeup or if he was you know, keen to push it as far as you could. I didn't know. So but from that first reaction, I thought, oh right, okay, great, we can really go for it. So then we made a huge slash through Leo's hair here, and the neck wound was made bigger, and then we tested it again, and Alejandro was really happy with it. So then the next time we tested it, we were in Calgary and we tested it on Leo's double again, and then we tested it on Leo himself. And then once that was finally signed off, we knew we could start prepping and making all the stuff for the bear attack.
Now, you've worked with Leo for a long time, I think since Titanic, if I'm not mistaken. So that's about 20 years. What can you talk about what that collaboration is like? Why you keep coming back to work with him?
Oh, well, because he asks me and he's really nice. You know, the thing is, Leo has a great face to work on as well, and and he's really into makeup, and he really enjoys the process of finding his character. And it's also that knowing somebody and having a shorthand, so you don't have to, he knows I'm going to go away and I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to make it look as good as I can, and then I'll come to him, show him, and sometimes he has input that's brilliant, sometimes he just says, oh, actually I really like that the way it is, or we work on his character some more and come up with more ideas. You know, it's very, because we know each other so well now, it just, makes it really easy. It's really nice.
Hmm. And you've been able to work on a lot of really great movies too as a result of it.
Well, he does pick a good film, that's for sure.
um, so this is your first Oscar nomination. What would it mean for you to win?
Gosh, I'd be terrified of giving a speech, that's for sure. That would be absolutely terrifying. Well, it would be amazing to win. Obviously, it would be really lovely. But, you know, just to get nominated is pretty amazing because it's makeup artists who vote for you to get down to the final three. And the makeup on The Revenant is not very showy. You know, it's the whole point of it is that it looks really natural and that you don't realize he has makeup on. You truly believe that he's frostbitten. You truly believe that is ice in his beard. So for something like that to be recognized by my peers is really lovely, you know, and it makes me think, well, I did it right then, that's okay. So that's great. Just for that, it's great.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because you know, you look at that category. I remember about 5 or 6 years ago when motion capture first kind of came along, and there was a lot of talk of, well, does this mean that the end of traditional makeup is coming? And you look at the 3 films that are nominated this year, you can't imagine them without traditional makeup.
Mm.
So, I mean, how do you feel about that? I mean, you know?
Um, I think makeup is really important to the actors. You know, I think it really helps them feel the way they're meant to feel. It really helps them, I think.
Mhm.
And, you know, I think you'd lose something without it being there. I hope, I certainly hope it never gets totally replaced. That's all I can say. Not in my career anyway, but I don't think it will. I think, you know, there are places where it's really useful. But I think it's important for the actors to have that physicality, to be able to react to each other and to know what they're reacting to rather than some green dots on somebody's face.
Hmm. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, and congratulations on your nomination and on the movie, and good luck with the rest of the season.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a great day. Or, well, night. You're in the UK.
Yeah,
It's
true.
early morning. All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye.